I was just saying, I usually pick someone about halfway down the hall, and when they come in, we start, and then we're going to lock the doors against all the rest. Not really. No. Good morning. Last week we talked. Is this coming across? I feel I'm talking into a. All right. I'll wait till when Claude looks up, I think you can hear me. Oh. There. So that was the wake up for the morning. Thank you, Claude. A little bit loud, but some are saying we liked it when we couldn't hear him, but you're going to hear me. Last week we talked about disciples on the road, disciples running away, disciples who were afraid of not only the Roman authorities, but even of their own Jewish authorities who were quizzling to the Romans. This week's story we pick up just a little bit later when the followers are gathered in a room, the doors are locked. They really have no plans. They don't know what they're supposed to do. They just know that they don't like the position they're in at the time. They've gone through a terrifying experience, and the future is extremely unclear, and we've all felt like that. We're fearful. Sometimes we're not even sure what we're fearful of, just a sense that things aren't right, and what do we do? And so our theme this week is, all right, we are fearful. How do we live through that and live out that resurrection story that was the message of the early church? Because Jesus was suddenly with those disciples, and they found peace. And with that sense of peace and hope and expectation, our first hymn, Morning Has Broken. Thank you, Monk. Thank you, choir. Thank you, Claude and Britta at the back, and all the other people who helped to bring this service together. Some here, some during the week, like Angie and Jen and other people. This is a team effort. I feel I'm fading. My wife says that, and which we're now going to see. Community Dance and Games Night, April 24th, 7 p.m. Please be there, talk to people, always out in the link, any of these events. They'll know something about it or call the office. I sound like I'm in a cathedral. I rather like that. They've got it on cathedral setting, yes. Understanding and navigating seniors housing, an important event coming up. There may be some seniors here. This is talking about what you do as you get older, how and where you are housed. Sunday, April 26th at 12 noon, right after the service. Steve Pinio, an Elvis tribute coming on Saturday, May the 2nd at 7:30. If you're interested in Elvis tributes, this is the place to be. And of course, as always, support the work. We know you support us because we're here, you're here. We know you support us because you're online out there, and we thank you for that support. You also can give money to help this church continue with its mission, not only to this meeting and this time, but to all the events that take place here, and indeed there's great outreach to the community around us. We welcome you all. Welcome you all because Christ's welcome is for all people. No matter who you are, where you come from, where you are in your religious journey, you're here for a reason. Something has brought you to this place to learn, to open up, to begin to see that which is beyond us. And of course, we always celebrate the fact we're doing this on the land of the indigenous peoples around us who have worshiped as we worship for thousands of years in this place. Our call to worship responsibly. In lives shaped by what has been lived, Christ is present. In moments where fear lingers, peace is spoken. In ordinary acts of sharing and eating, life is renewed. In the unfolding of everyday life, resurrection takes root. In our worship this morning, God's new day begins. Hallelujah. At this point, we light the Christ candle as a reminder that light, as a central symbol of faith, is always with us. Even when we're afraid and maybe have looked away for a while or have stepped back from the light, it's still there. It's still shining. It's still giving warmth. And the secret is to look and to get closer. And also, we light the candle remembering that this is a community of all communities, where everyone meets together looking for, discovering, and living out that light. This is the beginning always of something new, something different, something unexpected. And we celebrate that as we sing, "In the bulb there is a flower."
In the bulb there is a flower, in the seed an apple tree, in cocoons a hidden promise, butterflies will soon be free. In the cold and snow of winter, there's a spring that waits to be, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. There's a song in every silence, seeking word and melody. There's a dawn in every darkness, bringing hope to you and me. From the past will come the future, but it holds a mystery, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see. In our end is our beginning, in our time infinity. In our doubt there is believing, in our life eternity. In our death a resurrection, at the last a victory, unrevealed until its season, something God alone can see.
Please be seated. Let's take a moment just to gather ourselves here, leaving behind where we've been, the normal tasks of everyday life, getting up, having breakfast, driving on the highway, and bring our minds and our spirits to this place at this time for what it can give. Let us pray. God of life, we often need to be reminded that you walk with us in this world as it is, in all that are present. We can be easily distracted by what we have seen and experienced. We can struggle to see your grace at work in all that shapes us. Still, where I must new violence, new possibilities. We are grateful this morning for all the ways you remain with us, steady, present, and life-giving. Our hearts and minds to your presence among us. Help us to notice what is already here. Steady our hearts and root our peace. Let us pray together Jesus' prayer.
Our Father, our Mother, loving God who lives in heaven, may your name be made holy, may your reign come, may your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today the bread we need, and forgive us our debts as we have forgiven our debtors. And do not put us to the test, but free us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
I remember a walk that three of us in our family took on the south shore of the Bow River. I'm not really remembering the exact spot, but I know it was somewhere on the south bank, and there was a very tiny playground. I think 3 little child areas that you could let your children play. And we had Scott with us, who was quite tiny at the time, and he decided to take the most difficult of the 3. If you know Scott, you'd say, yep, he would. And he got up to the top of what was a fire pole, about maybe 2-3 meters high. It wasn't that tall, but then again, neither was he. And he stood there on the platform, his arms on the bar, and he said, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyway. And he did. That's the assurance of grace. We are in life afraid. We're not going to come here to church this morning and say we're never afraid of anything because we have hope or faith or whatever. We are afraid. But we do it anyway because we're also loved and upheld and healed. And that's the message. You are yourself. You are here. You're loved by God. And in the peace that those words give us, I would ask you to share the peace with one another. By the way, if you don't want to take part in this particular part of the service, simply sit quietly, reflect on your own life and the peace you can find. But otherwise, peace be with you. Share one another. I would remind any young people here, if you haven't gathered at the back yet, please do. The Kids Collective is going to be meeting, and I think we've just about collected all of them. Going to pray now with both song and word and times of silent reflection. And let's begin by Behold the Face of Christ. Going to sing this, or?
Behold the face of Christ, O Jesus Christ, O living Christ, you rise among your people.
Let us sense the presence of the Spirit with us now in this place. Things change, transform. We are calm and we are open. Christ among us, you are present in the world we know, in the people around us, in the moments that shape our lives. Open our eyes to recognize you in those who have experienced harm. in those whose sense of safety has been shaken, in those who continue to live with the memory of what has been done. Let your presence be known in faces marked by courage, in lives shaped by endurance, in people finding their way forward. Give us the grace to see you clearly in those navigating uncertainty, in those working within the systems that are strained and overwhelmed, in those who move carefully through each day. Let your presence be known in small acts of persistence, in steady moments of care, in lives that continue to unfold. Give us hearts to seek you in communities shaped by violence and imbalance, in places where power presses down, in lives shaped by forces beyond control. We think this morning especially of those whom we know who are facing illness or difficult situations for which they can see no cure. Remember those who are underemployed or unemployed, and those who are overemployed and stressed. We think of those carrying heavy burdens of guilt or fear. And we remember especially those around the world in situations where hatred is flaring, wars are being carried out, acts of injustice are being perpetrated on innocent people. We know our world, but we know, more importantly, the presence of your Spirit in that world. Help us to be a part of that Spirit.
Behold the face of Christ, O Jesus Christ, O living Christ, you rise among your people.
Let your presence be known in movements toward justice, in voices that speak truth, in people who remain present to one another through all things. Help us to recognize you in this community, in the relationships that form and grow, in the ways people show up for one another. Let your presence be known in shared meals, in ordinary conversations, in moments of the unexpected that help us to keep going. Draw near to us in our own lives, in the places where fear lingers, in the moments where hope begins to take shape.
Behold the face of Christ, O Jesus Christ, O living Christ,
Christ among us, remain present in every face we encounter, in every life we touch, in every moment we are given. Shape us into people who learn to recognize you and who live as part of your unfolding life. Amen. As I said at the beginning of the service, this morning's reading picks up from where we were last week, the disciples meeting together. While Jesus' followers were talking about these things, Jesus stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and frightened and thought they were seeing a spirit. And he said to them, "Why are you disturbed? Why are doubts rising in your minds? See from my hands and my feet that I am myself. Touch me and see that a spirit does not have flesh and bones as you see that I have." And when he said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. But in spite of their joy, they were still disbelieving. And marveling, he said to them, "Do you have anything here to eat?" They gave him a piece of broiled fish. And he took it and ate it in front of them. The stories of the early church for us as we are today. Gloria.
So we have a theme every Sunday, and it has come to light during our time with the minister on Wednesday that not often is the theme relatable to the song that we're singing, the anthem. And so today it's just a little bit of history about this particular spiritual. Many of you may remember it from a movie, "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" in 2000, but it dates back to 1867 in the African American community. And as you may well understand, they were fighting fear while they were practicing their religion. And this song speaks to how we come together as a community. And there are also, if you delve into some of the things online, some places that are referred to in the Bible, namely the Sermon on the Mount and Revelations, and you might be interested in looking that up. But this morning we will sing it for you. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, sisters, let's go down, let's go down, come on down. Oh, sisters, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, brothers, let's go down, let's go down, come on down. Oh, brothers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the starry crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, fathers, let's go down, let's go down, come on down. Oh, fathers, let's go down, down in the river to pray. As I went down in the river to pray, studying about that good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown, good Lord, show me the way. Oh, mothers,
And thank you, all the singers and the many music people that have come forward over the past few weeks to lead us each Sunday. And thank you to Monk, who's just here every Sunday. We appreciate that. And to Gloria, too, for the little intro. It's amazing how many of the anthems and hymns we sing have wonderful stories with them that most people don't know, and it's good to have them filled in because it adds depth and meaning. Dorothy and I were traveling in Austria, and it came to a point where we were standing on a platform waiting for the light of our train to come through the tunnel. Why do we do that, by the way? Notice you're waiting for a train or a boat, and you stand and look as if somehow, if I keep looking, it's going to come even sooner, I'm sure. Anyway, we were all standing there like this, and there was a couple next to us who were tourists, young couple with a couple of children, and they had one son who was, I'd say, maybe 4 or 5, and he was absolutely vibrant with enthusiasm. I'm going on a train. I'm going on a train. He held on to his mom, told her in case she didn't know. She held on to his dad, told him in case he doesn't know. Came over and gave me a big hug in case I didn't know. But he was going on a train. And then the train came. And he was terrified. Oh, he just began to scream, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And he held on to his mom and tried to keep her back. He ran around the platform looking for someone who would take him and wouldn't put him on that train. The expectation was fun. The reality, not quite as much. And when we got on, I remember Dorothy and I turned to the left to go that way, and this couple turned the other way, and all the way down the aisle we heard, I don't want to go on the train, it's terrible. There's a strange parallel between that story and the stories that we get from the early church in those first few weeks, perhaps months after Jesus. They were terrified. They were afraid. They didn't want to have to go on as they were, but they didn't really know what else to do either, so they just stuck in the terror. And then these stories began to circulate about Jesus' presence within the community. Good Friday was not the end. The realm of God had not stopped. The message was still alive. It was still there. The Spirit of Christ promised was still with them. Now, at this point, you'd think they would be absolutely overwhelmed with joy. All our prayers have been answered. Christ, the living Christ, is still with us. But they were, according to our story, startled, frightened, and disbelieving. It would seem, on the one hand, that they received everything they wanted, and on the other, the reality seemed to have been that in spite of receiving everything they'd always wanted, they were terribly upset. And of course, what had happened is with these stories that the Spirit of Christ was still alive and the message was still to be sent out into the world, they began to realize that it was now on their shoulders. They were going to be the ones doing the speaking. They were going to be the ones doing the proclaiming. They were going to be the ones facing the Jewish authorities and the Roman authorities. And it was their integrity and it was their lives that were going to be on the block. And so as well as being able to say, oh, good, the message is still going on, they also had to realize, it's going to be going on with us as we are in the world. I think we can all understand that experience. We've all had those dreams that we want to see fulfilled. You've practiced really hard on your piano and you're saying, someday I'm going to make it to the Jack Singer and I'll be sitting there and my mom and dad will be out there and my friends and my family and everyone I know and the orchestra will be ready to play and I will be playing the sonata. And then the day comes. No, I had a rotten rehearsal on Thursday night. Every time I've been late coming into the second movement, I never can figure out where the notes are that calling me into play, and I'm not sure what I'm doing, and why am I here, and why did I ever think I could do this? Any musicians in the group here today, have you ever had that feeling? Yeah, most of us have. And it may not be with a piano sonata, and maybe with a convention or a speech you have to give or something. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. When I got that invitation to speak, I said, this is the most wonderful thing I've ever gotten. And then it all sinks in, and we're sort of, well, yeah, it was a good dream, but it's not a reality that I really think I'm up to living with at this particular time. Life is like that. And with those thoughts, we come to today's theme, which is, how do we live out that resurrection message, that resurrection reality, that new life in times of fear? First slide. The antidote to fear is discovering our true selves. The antidote to fear is discovering our true selves. Usually, of course, when we're afraid, immediately we look around and say, well, somebody's got the solution because I sure don't. But when we realize that we're there and we're all by ourselves, then it's the training wheels are off the bike, and I better pedal and I better balance or I'm going to fall off. And that's when we need to look down into ourselves and say, what is there? The Easter experience is not talking about how Jesus came back and maybe debating what those stories mean, because they seem to be conflicting and strange and odd, and what do they mean to us? That's not the heart of the resurrection. The heart of the resurrection is finding the power that the presence of Christ in our lives gives to us. That is resurrection. That is what incapacitates fear. It's still going to be there, but it will not have power. Next picture. You've all got it wrong already, sorry. You thought this was something that's come over the waves from space in the last week or two. No. This is December 24th, 1968, the Apollo 8 mission. And what is significant about this is the first snapshot of Earthrise. Bill Anders took out the camera in the capsule as they went from behind the dark side of the moon, and suddenly Earth was rising. And for him and for the astronauts with him, and after I wrote this, I find from the astronauts last week, this was a moment, and this is a moment of transformation. Anders said, we came all this way to explore the moon, and the most important thing is that we discovered the Earth. Because Earthrise has become known as the overview effect. NASA still uses that phrase. It means that suddenly these people out there in little tin cans in space see where we really live. It's not this big, beautiful place that stretches out. It's a tiny little ball in space. And it's rather terrifying, but it's also amazing because what they all note, there are no lines drawn on the map. There are no little red marks at the end of the Straits of Hormuz saying closed for business. There are no notifications that certain people live here, but they can't live here, and there are certain boundaries here that these people can cross and those people can't. No, none of that's there. It's just one habitat, one biosphere, one place in which people are being called either live together or perhaps just give up living. Easter for us should be this kind of experience, a Christ rise, a moment when we suddenly see what the faith is really all about. There's a presence in us that is new and different and continues to bring about newness and difference to us and to the world around us. Now, you have to take some notes with this, and that is that talking about a resurrection experience does not mean that we need to become like Jesus. I'm going to read the Gospel of Mark, see what Jesus did, and I'm going to go out and do that. No, that's not ever what we're called to do. That's demented divine delusion. We see it present in our world today. Next slide. Yes, there it is. That's demented divine delusion. We are Christ. We are able to do all the things that we're told that Jesus did. If you're aiming for that, you're going to be disappointed. And it's never what the Gospels say. They say that these disciples were themselves. Remember, we're discovering ourselves. And in themselves, they found what they could do. Nor is this strictly about egotism. I'm going to be out and I'm going to be the presence of the gospel in the world. Look at me. I'm pretty special. I'm pretty great. No. You're going to go out and you're going to be yourself in the world. You're going to blend in as you mix with, talk with, work with, react to, and with other people. What we are called to do by the Easter message is to look around us at, again, the real world where we actually live and say, what are love and justice calling me to do here? Not over there, not back then. What am I being called to do right here, right now? Are the solutions we find going to be perfect? No. Nowhere does it say that. We're going to do something. It may be sort of perfect. Are they going to be solutions that are going to be permanent? We have decided, we had a vote, we now know what we're going to do, we have the bylaw, we have the situation. Is this what it's all about? This is the resurrection word passed on January the 1st, 1968 or something. No. I was thinking the other day, as a minister, I have been a part of 4 committees, at least. As I get older, they become fewer, but at least 4, in which we studied and examined and rewrote the structure of the United Church of Canada. It was wonderful, and we did great things. And every time we've done it, the church has been reorganized, thanks be to God. Until new problems came up, and then we had to say, well, yeah, we're reorganized, but, we've got to move this here, because this has become far too big, and this doesn't work at all, and we've got to separate. And so we had another committee and another solution, and everybody was happy and said, we have done it, and it goes on and on. Now, I can see some of you saying, well, obviously the solution is don't put Grant on committees, but that's not really where we're going with this. Rather, we're going that we do things at the time that God gives us the ability and the wisdom and the strength to do in the name of love and justice. And for a time, that's good. And then we're going to do something else in another way. About 50 years ago or more, I think my walk is now about 53 years old, I began to do Chinese cooking. And I remember my first meals, which would take like all day, because you hadn't realized you have to chop everything at once and then cook it all. It's confusing. But I remember my first meal was in Kirkton, Ontario, just north of London. And I went down to London to buy things because in Kirkton we had a tiny little store, which, by the way, now this is the footnote, and you've heard before I love footnotes far more than the main text. If you read the history of Eaton's in Canada, you'll read that it began in St. Mary's, Ontario. No, it didn't. His first store was our tiny little store in Kirkton, and then he moved to St. Mary's and became Canada famous. But anyway, I went to our little store, and I had forgotten to buy pork because I was going to make pork spring rolls. So I went up, and their meat counter was maybe this big on a generous day, and you got whatever they happened to have in. And so I looked for pork. No. I'm a creative person. What tastes something like pork? Chicken. Who said that? But you get a free coffee. Yeah. Just tell them at the back, you know me, and you're in there. Chicken. So I looked for chicken. No chicken. But I'm a pretty creative person, so I thought, well, what tastes like chicken that tastes like pork? Obviously, chicken of the sea, tuna fish. Absolutely. So I bought tuna fish, and we had tuna fish spring rolls. Now, the dish has not caught on, I'm sorry to say. In fact, I don't think I've ever made spring rolls since. But what I was doing was working with what I had and doing the best I could with it. And the family enjoyed it, and they ate it, and they made faces, and they told me I was a silly old man. But it was wonderful. We had a good meal. And that's what life is about. We take what we have, those small offerings that God has given us, and say, well, this is what I can do today, and this is what I'm going to do. We had a friend who used to serve the most magnificent dinners. If you were invited out to her house for Sunday dinner, you went willingly. She was one of these people that had the perfect table. Every time there'd be different flower holders with different flowers in them, which matched the theme of the meal and the theme of the year and the lunar cycle. I don't know all the things, but they were there. And she had then the plates and the glasses, which we would have had at our house, but then she had all the proper knives on this side, and the proper forks up here, and the proper spoons up here, and she would make things like beef Wellington. And for dessert, you would have creme brulee. And they were wonderful meals. So it was a 5-star restaurant. And whenever we got an invitation to come over for Sunday dinner, we said yes. She became older, as some people are, I've noticed, in others. And she was not quite as filled with vim and vigor as she had once been. And you would go, and the meals would be smaller. It wouldn't be beef Wellington. It would be pork loin. It wouldn't be creme brulee. It would be bread pudding. And I remember one day in particular, and this is where the thought struck me, she served this bread pudding for supper, and she was so apologetic. It's all I could do. We were just ecstatic. I hadn't had bread pudding since I was about 14 years old. I love bread pudding. You put in the bread and the raisins and other things that make pudding bread or bread pudding. It was a wonderful dish. But what was disturbing was that apology that, this is all I could do today. And that, my friends, is all we can ever say. This is what I could do today. And God says, good for you. I didn't ask you to do anything more than you could do today. I asked you to look at the gifts and the resources you have and just go and do it. That's what it's about. Then there's a final note in that passage, and in so many of these passages, there's almost a verse added on at the end, and it seems to be original, but it's sort of a different theme, and it makes sense. Jesus comes to the end of his visit with the disciples. He's done everything he could do, and he says, what have you got here to eat? And they look around and, I don't know, we got broiled fish. And Jesus eats it. Just a minor point, who cares? No, it's not. This is the passing of the power. What Jesus is saying is that what you have to work with is broiled fish. And you've given it to me. You've fed the world. And that's what I'm going to call you to do. Don't always look at what I would do or how I did it, but say, what have we got and how can we share it? And then share it, and you'll find suddenly, hey, we're doing the job. This is wonderful. And again, another footnote, just number 2. It's not too many. The fact they're serving broiled fish says to me maybe this is taking place in Galilee. Most of the Jesus stories that were the earliest took place in Galilee, because that seemed to be where the disciples all ran off to. So here, having broiled fish in the mountains of Palestine, maybe not quite as common a food as it would have been in Galilee or on the coast. That's strictly a Grant Dawson thought. You can now forget it and bring it up at a dinner table sometime and impress people no end. If you have friends that are that kind of people. Anyway, that was the end of it. It was wonderful. And that's who we are. We're the ones who provide for the world. Are we sometimes scared to show the gifts we have or to actually use them in the world or to say the things that need to be said or do the things that need to be done? Yes, we're going to be afraid. We're going to be hesitant. We're going to say, I guess this is the best I have. And God's going to say, and it is. And now go and do it. We're going to be afraid. But that's not going to stop us. And for this reality, thanks be to God. Take up his song. Please stand. This may be the last time I'm going to be here in this cycle of work, and then I'll retire again. Next week, I know Bill's going to be here. The week after that, maybe there'll be someone called Joanne here, but we're not sure yet. So when you come in 2 weeks' time and I'm here again, don't look too disappointed. That's all I ask. Oh, no. And as always, I thank the people that have worked with me here. We got Claude and Britta at the back today, but there have been others. Thank all the singers, the ones here and the ones not here. Monk always, the office staff, you people, the greeters, people who come just because you have nothing better to do on Sunday morning. We thank you for being here. I've enjoyed it. And as I say, I will certainly see you again. I'll be here at the men's breakfast, I know, because that's going to be a good one. When you go out into that big world out there, which looks so beautiful this morning, there are going to be moments when you're going to be afraid, even in something that seems to be an anticipated activity or challenge. You're going to be afraid, absolutely. But do it anyway. Feed the world. God is with you. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
per month? How are you doing this week? Thank you for working with the choir today. That sounds very nice.
Okay, thank you.
You got to practice all the songs a lot each week, or do you know most of them now, or depends, I guess.
Sometimes, sometimes people use
Yep.
yeah. Sometimes go anywhere. Really challenging mixes. Every time it's changing singers. Yes, yeah, singer different volume. Yeah.
Some people like
Music, other people just sing and add a little bit more.
So how did you do this morning? Did you practice each one?
Just one.
Oh, that's maybe good. Just run through it and see how it feels after. So, I think